Welcome to this event today. I have Jason Greaves, and Jason, I'm not going to talk about who you are, but my name is Martin Etwop. I'm part of an organization that does a lot of great stuff with Citizens Defending Freedom and Remnant Law. And today we're here to talk about a great win that we had this week. Actually, Jason was a big part of that win. So Jason is going to tell us who he is and what this win is all about.
Hey Martin, it's great to see you again. Great to be here with you, and it's a great morning.
Yes.
'Cause after 2 weeks of this trial, yeah, we got basically complete vindication for almost every single one of the defendants. And this was just to tell you a little bit about myself, I guess. I'm a litigator. I'm a trial lawyer, and have been doing this kind of free speech work only for the last about 4 years now. Most of my practice has been, working for insurance companies and insurance defense type things. But fortunately, when CDF contacted us about this case, because I had no idea that it was going on, I had two federal trials this summer that both settled right around the time that you guys contacted us saying, hey, we've got this trial coming up in, I think it was 2 weeks. and so we had to scramble. I mean, I did have to push a lot of things around, but we decided that yes, these clients, they deserve to be represented. And it's a dangerous case. It's a dangerous case when ordinary people can be sued for conspiracy under the Klan Act, just for showing political support for President Trump or any other political candidate. So,
Yeah, so Jason, we said this case. Could you tell us more about this case? What was this case? How did it come about?
so back in 2020, height of COVID, summer of 2020, our clients, specifically Steve and Randi Ceh, they were, as sort of an outlet from all the COVID restrictions and social distancing, they started organizing a local Trump train, which is basically just a bunch of cars that would meet in a parking lot. They'd wave, put big Trump flags in the back of their trucks, and they'd drive around town. And it was a social thing. It was a fun, family-friendly thing. And you roll the clock forward a little bit to the eve of the election, and Wendy Davis, former congressional candidate, failed Texas gubernatorial candidate, was a campaign surrogate for the Biden campaign, and she was touring. She was doing a bus tour through Texas, and so a lot of these Trump trains, not just our clients, but there were lots of different ones from different towns and cities. They found out about the bus tour, and they thought it'd be fun to follow the bus as it rolled through town, and then have just a bunch of Trump flags waving around the big Biden bus, and that's what they did. That's all they did. And Wendy Davis and a couple of people inside the bus decided to file a lawsuit under a very arcane statute. It's 42 USC 1985. And it's conspiracy to deprive someone of their civil rights, and it's commonly known as the Ku Klux Klan Act. And so they
Jason,
tried to prove. Yeah.
just a moment. Talk about the Ku Klux Klan, Ku Klux Klan, okay, KKK Act. That was an 1871 law, right?
Yep, that's right. And it was meant to, the purpose of it was because in the Deep South at the time, you had actual people physically preventing blacks from voting, and that's what the law was designed to prevent. It was not designed to attack political speech, and this is a new and dangerous trend that we're seeing with the lawfare being used against people who express opinions that are not favored now. And so you've got a bunch of people on the freeway that have the absolute right to be there to fly Trump flags or any other flag. And because the people on this bus, Wendy Davis and a couple of others, decide that they think that that's scary, that they think that they're being intimidated, that they can file a lawsuit and ruin these people's lives. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, even though we won, I mean, it came at a tremendous price, not just in attorney's fees, but the 3 to 4 years that they have been fighting this in the courts and in the media. Because I mean, these organizations, and make no mistake, I mean, they spent millions. They spent millions of dollars prosecuting this case. They had an army of attorneys. They had at least 20 attorneys, some from a high-powered DC firm, others from organizations called Defend Democracy and Texas Civil Rights Project. And they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on private investigators and on sociologists and experts and forensic specialists. I mean, they went all out on this case. And they even were portraying these people on social media as literal Klansmen, like little Klansmen with hoods on. That's how they were being portrayed on social media. And so again, it's not just the courts. These people were getting harassed constantly. They were receiving death threats. I believe one of the defendants had to flee to Las Vegas because he couldn't be in Texas anymore. Our clients, the Ceys, they were getting horrendous threats to their family and people coming to their house. And they, for several nights had their kids sleeping not in their bedrooms, but in like a central room of the house just to be away from the windows. They were legitimately terrified.
Yeah. And Jason, one thing that I saw while I was in Austin with you, and which I wanted to talk about briefly, is these defendants were regular people like you and me. Actually, not like you and me, because we are attorneys. They are not attorneys. They're a pastor and his wife. We had a chef, a retired Navy veteran. We had a former musician, like a lady who just sits and does her thing and just has a good time with her family. I mean, regular Americans that just
these were all
yes.
All of them were working class people. They're normal working class people that don't have the resources to fight a lawsuit like this. I mean, it's only because of Citizens Defending Freedom that the Ceys were able to afford counsel. They had been defending themselves, which, that's just not going to work, right? I mean, you can't go into a hospital and operate on yourself when you've got, appendicitis. You get sued, you need a lawyer, and it's kind of a tragic reality, but you do. And lawyers are expensive. They're incredibly expensive. And so it was only through the generous, fundraising of Citizens Defending Freedom. The Maceroses, Joylyn Maceros, I mean, God bless her. She's a firecracker, but she's basically turned her whole life into a full-time fundraising job. And that's how she paid for her defense and her family's defense. And then Dolores Park, her attorneys came from the Thomas More Law Center. So, they were defending her on religious grounds because they're a religious freedom organization. And, so that she was fortunate to have that. They did a great job for her. And then the other defendant, Mr. Cisneros, who, he's a Navy veteran. He is a chef. Again, can't afford an attorney. He had a solo practice attorney that has barely been paid, and he only stayed in the case because he believed in it. And he doesn't ever really expect to get paid, I would think, unless and until, I mean, his client was the only one that was found liable, kind of strangely. They found him liable for conspiracy, even though no one else was found liable for conspiracy. He conspired with himself, right? And so, I mean, the entire application of the Klan Act in this context is so unprecedented, and the Fifth Circuit has already indicated extreme displeasure at how they are using the Klan Act. So I have no doubt that he'll eventually win on appeal. But again, that's just going to take more time. It's more resources. His poor attorney is going to have to spend more time not getting paid. So I'm hopeful that we can help him fundraise for that as well. But at the end of the day, these people, even if they get their attorney's fees back, which is an option under the law, and it's not guaranteed, but it's an option. Even if they were to get their attorney's fees back, I mean, they're not going to get their 4 years of their life back.
I know people want to know, like, we know we talked about the background of all this, but like during the trial itself, I mean, you and I joined in, like you said, when 2 days before before jury selection.
Yeah, I
And
think I was in
so,
about a week before that. Yeah.
yeah, but I'm sure that people want to know, number one, why your organization, Binnall Law, and why Citizens Defending Freedom and Remnant Law would choose to get into this arena to defend the Pastor Say and Pastor and Mrs. Say.
Well, on a personal level, I just like trials. I'm a trial lawyer, and I enjoy that. But professionally and politically, this case was extremely important to us, and we were really, really fortunate that we were able to make it work, because it could have easily just been that, well, sorry, our bandwidth is full. We've got other trials. Better luck next time. It really was kind of a miracle that we even had the bandwidth to take a case like this, because we have a busy practice. But Binnall Law Group is committed big time to free speech. We represent a lot of America First individuals, a lot of America First causes, and this is an important one. This is probably one of the most important ones, is being able to express ourselves. And if ordinary people are gonna get sued over organizing Trump trains or flying flags in the freeway, this is a dangerous place that we're in.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it looks like it's only getting dangerous every day with all the lawfare that the other side is trying to do everything. Number one, even when they know they're gonna lose, they just do it to bankrupt you. Because like these six, financial, they will never go back to the way they were.
Yeah, and I mean that's really that is the point, right? I mean, they filed this lawsuit, they invested millions in this lawsuit, never expecting to get any money out of it, because even if they had won, they're not going to be able to collect from people, right? I mean, you can't get blood from a stone. So the point was not to get any money from these people. The point was to intimidate Trump supporters. The point was to generate headlines right before an election that Trump supporters found liable under the Klan Act, right? That was the point, and that's election interference, really. I mean,
Yep.
it's really disgusting.
And I know some of the attorneys on the other side did mention that, like, oh, elections are coming up. They kept referring to the upcoming election. So, like you said, it felt like they were trying to do this to get something like, hey, we had a win against the Trump supporters. They will never do this again, and try to intimidate and bully people. And Jason, the trial itself, I know as an attorney, there's not a lot you can talk about what happened in there, but just on like a regular, how did you feel about the flow of the trial, like the length of it, how Judge Pittman, how was his management of the time and all that for this trial?
I mean, it was overlong. It was overly complicated, because that's the entire nature of the plaintiff's case. So they took forever to put on all this, social media posting. I mean, they just put thousands of pages of social media into evidence, and they had all these forensics people come in to testify about it, and unnecessary expert witnesses that you spend hours just talking about their resumes to make the jury think that they're more qualified than they are to interpret social media posts, or to figure out what constitutes deadly conduct on the freeway. Yeah, I mean that was the nature of their case, and I mean I think Judge Pittman runs a pretty efficient courtroom, and he is he was pretty even-handed in his evidentiary objections, at least the for the most part. But there's a lot that really should never have even gotten to the trial. I mean, the orders on the motions to dismiss, those should have dismissed this case far earlier in the process. I mean, those are the safeguards that the judiciary is supposed to have in place so that parties aren't wasting money on frivolous lawsuits. This case was frivolous, and it should have been dismissed a long time ago.
Yes, and just to be clear about something, because some people might not know, this was in the federal court, not state court.
Yep.
And how about the jury? What was their, like, did they, I mean, you can never know. Some days they look like they're agreeing with you, and some days but of course, ultimately when the jury comes back with their verdict, then they agreed with you. But in the process, did you feel like any of them were coming, like they were getting what you're saying at the process, or were you feeling like, oh shoot, I just lost that one?
No, I thought that from the very beginning that they seemed like a fair jury, and they all seemed like ordinary, everyday people. So I believed from the beginning that they would get it. And it takes time. The plaintiffs get to go first, and so all they hear for the first half of trial is what the plaintiffs want you to hear. And so then you, as the defense, have to come in and put on your case. But I always felt pretty good about that jury, that they were going to get it, and based on how things turned out, I was right. I like being right.
Yeah, yes, you were. And there's this scriptural verse that says, a man presenting his case, I'm paraphrasing, it looks like that's the truth until the other side presents their side. And so I think that's what the jury ultimately saw. The other side seemed like they had all these facts, had all these expert witnesses, like you said, and people crying on the stage. Someone who said they'd never cried before, and they're crying for the first time, and they're never gonna cry again because they've been coached on how to cry. But the jury saw through all this, and then the other thing was the fact that this jury it's Austin. People say Austin is liberal city, but when attorneys like you and Aaron Massino and Javad and everyone else present like a really good case, it doesn't matter whether it's a liberal jury or not, because liberal or not, they are Americans first. They love America. To me, that's what I saw from this jury. They didn't care what your political affiliation was.
It definitely gives us a little bit of hope, right? That even in Austin, things they can see the truth. But I wouldn't say it doesn't matter at all, because we've seen what happens in D.C. juries with January 6th, 100% conviction rate. I mean, that's why it's dangerous. I mean, these polarizing political cases can be dangerous because people can just really dig in on their own team rather than apply the law and apply the facts and look at the truth.
So going forward, what do you think is the takeaway for you as Jason Greaves, the attorney who loves litigation, and for your organization and for our organization? What do you think? Going forward, what do you think is going to be like? What am I trying to say? This is a big fight, and do you see yourself tomorrow if you get the phone call again? Are you ready to jump up and go? Oh, your wife is going to kick you out for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, my wife might have something to say about that, but no, I mean, I'm hoping that the failure of this case, after they invested millions and they didn't get the result that they were looking for, hopefully that will deter other abuses like this. But no, I mean, if we're definitely going to continue to represent people like this, wherever we can and wherever it makes sense, and with the help of CDF and other organizations and charities. Hopefully, no ordinary Americans are going to be left behind and undefended in a case like this.
Mm-hmm. And Jason, I wanted to say something about this, how you and I got into this case. So, CDF and Remnant Alliance hosted a gala in Frisco, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And the co-founder of CDF and all these other big people in America today, political leaders, religious leaders came and spoke. And during one of the days, one of the event, it was a pastor's event before the gala. Someone walks over to me, they're like, do you know about this case going on, this Trump case, Trump train case from 4 years ago? I'm like, I saw it in the news 4 years ago. What's going on? And he's like, oh, I represent I'm a friend with the Masseros, and they need help. And you're what? The co-founder of your organization just said that you guys help, and you are the attorney on at the building right now. What can you do? And I felt like, oh shoot, okay. Our Steve Maxwell has already told the people that CDF is going to do it, and Remnant Law is going to be there for you as pastors. So how do we then be like, sorry, can't help you? And so I'm like, hey, have the person call me on Monday. Then Joelene actually called me. I didn't know about the says. So Joelene calls me and we talk about her case. Then I connect her with the state director for Texas, CDF. And then he looked at the case just like I did, and he thought it was a good case. And then he tells us, actually, it's not me who needs help. It's the pastor and his wife who need help. So that's how you and I came into this case. And I think if this gentleman had not gone to this Remnant Alliance event, you and I would not be speaking today. And the lives of the says and maybe the other defendants, and here's why. Because the case you built, you were defending the says, but it seemed like your cases built onto each other. So you couldn't just defend the says, and then the Masseros, even though they had their own attorney, the arguments had to keep fitting into each other. With one taken out, it didn't work. So to me, it feels like if the says were not being defended by Binnall Law and Remnant Law, the entire case could have had an issue. So,
oh yeah, the whole thing could have collapsed. You're right.
Yeah. So I'm glad that one meet up with this person in Frisco, Texas, and then our general counsel calling Binnall Law and say, hey, we need you like tomorrow. And you are willing to get up, leave Washington, D.C. and your family, and come back to Texas, which is part of your home, and say, hey, let's do it. So thank you for that. It makes a big difference.
Well, thank you guys for getting us involved. And, I know that, we had worked with CDF before, and so just all these coincidences, it's just one of those things that makes you believe that there is something higher, looking out for us all. And the timing couldn't have been better, and right people at the right time.
Yeah, and just before we go, I just wanted to add one or two things, and that's about being an organization, being a 501c3, which CDF is, and being and Remnant Law, which is a public interest law firm, plus the organization. We live on the public supporting what we do. That's the only way that we can actually keep what's going on here. Because, for instance, the says it cost them, like, this whole thing costs a whole lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend this case. And so it helps when we have people surrounding organizations like this. That way you and I can stay on the fight. You and I can provide services that nobody could ever afford to do. And so because of that, if anybody who's not part of CDF already, and who's not part of Binnall Law, or who's not aware of Remnant Law, go and look up the organizations. Check us out and try to be a partner with us in any way you can. This Saturday, if you're in the Houston area, CDF Harris County is hosting a gala. If you can make it and you're in Houston, that would be great. It would be great to have you guys, because that's the only way we can make a difference. That's the only way we can help the weak, people who can't afford, the people who are being bullied, people who are being intimidated, being called terrorists. You and I and the other defendants were called terrorists, posted on social media.
No, in the courtroom, there was people calling us terrorists.
Yeah.
It was wild.